Once you grasp this truth that I'm about to tell you, it'll set you free from religion. It'll set you free from parents and moms and family and governments and police, everybody. It'll set you free. And it's simply this: you are divine. God has exploded in a Crab Nebulae explosion, and he has come and manifested himself as billions of people. And you're one of you, and so am I. When I look at you, I see God. When you look at me, you see God. That's why God's name is I Am. I am God. It doesn't mean that me, God. It means I am. When you say I am God, you have to say, what is God's name? I am. What? I am God. Oh my God, then all people, Christians run around, oh, I told you they think they're God. I don't think any of the other side. No, Jesus Christ said, the scripture says you are God, and the scripture cannot be broken. So he said it.
Yeah, like I'm not third album.
Peace, 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 family. How you all doing? I hope all is well with you. My name is Keisha. I'm the owner of Ascendant Astrology, and I am your astrology coach. Today, I'm going to be doing Moon in Scorpio, continuing the Moon through the Signs series. And if you want a reading, or you want your weekly astrology sent to you every week, a week in advance, all my information is in the description box below. I also have some links up here on this side, whichever one it is. I highly advise you to check out the website, see what we got going on. Feel free to contact me if you're interested in anything. And if this video resonates with you, please like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Yeah, so the moon represents your mind, your emotions, the way you process your thoughts, the way you think, how you behave and how you respond to situations. It's also emotional fulfillment, home, and security, because the moon is ruled by Cancer and it lives in the fourth house in astrology. And so this is family, parents, children, your roots, your generational bloodline, your ancestors, and things that are passed down through generation to generation. And it also represents your mother. Our emotions stem from the survival of our childhood and how our home environment was, and kind of what we learned from our mother. They become our patterns in our adult life. It's our subconscious mind. So it's the things that are in the back of our mind, but it's our bottom line. And so it's the things that we remember and reflect on. It's the past, it's nostalgia, and any kind of memories and family moments, and things like that. And so this ultimately can affect how we express ourselves and our emotions and how we connect in relationships in our adult life. And Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. It lives in the 8th house. And Scorpio rules death, transformation, rebirth, karma. It's also our psychology, and what makes people tick. It's a psychology of money. It also rules debt, taxes, investments, insurances, other people's money, government money, as well as a spiritual side to Scorpio. It rules astrology, numerology, and palmistry, all the divinations. And so it's also about doing like deep research and some of the darker sides of life, jealousy, envy, hatred, and things of that nature, crime and investigations and, all those things. And so your mom could have operated out of fear. Pluto does rule fear. Scorpio rules fear. And she might have put you in situations that um where you may not have been protected in some way. She could have been abusive, verbally and physically abusive, or again, you were put in situations where you were abused, um, verbally or physically. Um, this could also be being born into situations where there was a death, so a death and a rebirth, because it rules death and rebirth. And so it could be like you were born and your grandmother passed away. And that theory or theme could play out generationally where somebody else was born and somebody else died. Or there just could be a lot of death in your family. Um, there was a lack of nurturing and secretiveness, and like withholding information, which kind of taught you how to be investigative and gave you trust issues. Um, you could be very defensive when triggered. Um, or your mom could be very defensive, which is triggering. Um, it might have been one of those situations where you really couldn't talk to her about much, or if you brought certain stuff up or wanted to know something, um, it would trigger her to respond in such a way that kind of shut down or didn't give you information or knowledge about certain things. You could have had a narcissistic mother, um, which kind of left you in need or the having very strong desires, or intense love and deep emotional intelligence to want to know what those things feel like. Um, or, a lack of not being able to love deeply or be vulnerable. Um, this could have also led to like having being afraid of losing control and power in all situations. Really, doesn't really matter, especially if it was something that triggers you and reminds you of your childhood. It could cause you to react in a way where you feel like um, you have to gain power or control back in some way. Intimacy is another really big theme. I don't know why, whenever I think of Scorpio energy, I always think of vampires. I think vampire movies are a great depiction of what it means to be intimate with somebody, or somebody that's very has a very intense love affairs. And I think vampire movies always kind of reflect that energy so well. I think it gets mixed and confused with sex, but it's more dominatrix and not the actual physical act of sex, but leading up to the sex. And I think that's why people get it so mixed up that Scorpio rules sex. It's actually Gemini and Pisces, and Leo that rules sex. But Scorpio obviously can be sex, but it's more so the intimate part that leads up to it, even considering like the foreplay, or but it's being stuck in that moment just before you get down and dirty, which makes it so intense and intimate. And it'll be different and how that can be displayed with different people. It really depends on, what house it's in for you, and what other planets are aspecting your moon. That will make all the difference. But these people could either be very intimate in that way, or they're into dominatrix, or they want to have that kind of vampirous intimacy with somebody, where it's just very, very intense and like a deep connection of love and emotional connection. Um, or these are things that they long for, somebody who can do that with them. Um, but these people can also feel like someone else is always out to get them. And it can lead you to being very vindictive, um, and jealous and envious of others, even if it's not true. The mind can be delusion, even though delusion is more of a Pisces theme. There can be this very delusional concept here with Scorpio moon where you kind of conjure up situations because you have trust issues or you feel like you can't trust anybody. I think it's the worst for men, and they tend to really end up hating women or do malicious or vindictive things to women in order to gain power and control, because maybe they lack emotional intelligence or the ability to love and be intimate and vulnerable with others due to their childhood. Um, whatever trauma they experienced as a child. I think a lot of the times Scorpios are the ones who tend to be in situations where they do experience some kind of rape or being molested or touched, specifically by a parent or a family member, somebody who's very close to them, somebody they're supposed to be able to trust. And, where you learn how to be intimate with someone and vulnerable, but they don't get that. It's that trust is broken through, um, some kind of deceit or deception. And it's usually hidden and made to be kept a secret in the family, which, further expands those lower expressions of envy, jealousy, and hatred, and wanting to get other people back or putting people in those situations to make them feel what you felt. Um, And so the lesson for a lot of Scorpio moon people is to learn that you can't control things. Um, and these people will try to mess things up for other people if they feel like they're out of control. People can be very, very dangerous in that way, where they kind of become the pedophile. They become the rapist, they become the manipulator, they become the not so nice person because that's what they got, right? And so they typically intentionally want people to feel that pain that they went through. On the flip side to that, these people are healers. They want to heal trauma with their parent, but unfortunately, if the parent isn't ready, it doesn't really work, and they never really get that closure. And so this can lead these people into wanting to be studying psychology, what makes people tick, or watching a lot of those movies about when women kill and shit like that, because they can relate to those things, or any kind of social services or whatever your trauma is, these people will want to immerse themselves in that field so they can be around people that make them feel normal. These people understand the mind of a serial killer, or people who do these types of things because of the trauma that they endured as a child. And if they do have kids, they become very overprotective of their kids. Even maybe even a fear of birth and not wanting to be a parent, because they're afraid that they're going to do something to them or that they're going to allow something to happen to them and they don't want to repeat that trauma. And so psychology is a really big theme for these people, um, to help you evolve through um, any kind of trauma. And even if you do have kids, it's also another way to evolve through your trauma. You learn through your children by being a better person. Um, Again, these people are very sexual, um, and can have a lot of over sexualized women. in their family, which can lead to that sexual dominatrix stuff. Big time, big time, big time. Or even doing like prostitution, or I don't know why I'm thinking of Lil Wayne's song Mona Lisa. I don't know if anybody's heard that song. Go listen to that song. This is such a scorpionic song. And Lil Wayne is a Libra, by the way. If you haven't listened to my Libra Moon video, you should really go check that out because we do share a lot of similarities, and I talk a little bit why in that video. But um in that song, he's talking about how he puts women in positions to lure men who maybe perhaps owe him money, or, he wants something done to them. In order to seek them out, he will get a woman to go out and do his dirty deed to get them in a place where he can rob them, um, and get revenge. Such a scorpionic topic. And these women tend to be those women who would do something like that. They would be that person to set a person up like that. Um, you know, um, these are the people who will be the woman who will, like, you ever watch those movies of like missing children, and how do you call it, the children who get taken, the sex rings and stuff like that. These women are the women who are typically there to make sure that they obey, right, and do what they're supposed to do and teach them the ropes. These are the heads of those types of things, unfortunately. These women can be into stuff like that because they probably seen it done. Either their mom did it to them, or or they've seen it somewhere in the family where it was taught or normalized in some way. Um, or they simply just like pain. Again, these people really have been through something in their life that leads them to being comfortable in these types of environments. I don't want to make it seem like they're bad people, because I really don't feel that way, even though it's such a horrific thing. And it's like, how could you say that? If you don't understand the psychology and the mind, that's what you watch these videos for, is to understand somebody, not to continue looking down on them or upon them for the choices and decisions that they make in their life. Even though this is a terrible thing, right? This is horrible, and people are being hurt by that. Um, hurt people. But when there's no other silver lining, or outside knowledge teaching these people that, well, what else do you expect them to do? They're only doing what they've ever been taught, right? Not that that makes it right, but to hopefully, again, make it make sense, right? To a point where we can kind of eliminate the judgment of it, right? This really allows people to heal and be able to get past things when, you know, you're not judging them for the life that they lead. But anyway, um, but we can see these things, especially if the women in their family didn't have power. These people will strongly take on that role. So remember, it doesn't necessarily have to be something bad. These people just genuinely understand this energy in a way that is just very different from most people. And yeah, it's a little dark, but we're talking about Pluto, who rules the underworld. This is very leather and chains and black males, and even though that's very Capricorn, believe it or not, Capricorn's the emo, but Scorpios can be that way too. Um, and so um, these people will want to. I remember I was watching a video. I don't know what I think it was on TikTok, where this girl was a dominatrix for white men, just black. It was a black woman, and she specifically only worked with white men because in her mind, this was her way of getting back for slavery. It's a very interesting concept. This is so Moon and Scorpio, right? Right. And so I use that example again to show that it's not always necessarily coming from a place of detriment or abuse. These people just really understand the darker sides of themselves and the necessity of it. Remember, um, dark and light is both good and bad. Without them, we're off balance. And so knowing when to use it and how to use it makes all the difference, obviously. But they are still very necessary, whether we're uncomfortable with it or not. And so, yeah, I had to say that. But for these people, um, you have to remember it's not about being in control, having control over others. It's about giving others the benefit of the doubt. And that's the importance of studying psychology and understanding the mind and why people do things. Why do serial killers do these types of things? Why do women kill? And all those like crime shows and stuff like that really can help you decipher and kind of eliminate the trauma that you've gone through in some way, shape, or form. And so I feel like I can go so much deeper into that, but I love, 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 love Scorpio energy. I think it's just the absolute best. But these people usually are shamans, healers. They tend to evolve into, voodoo and magic, which most people, these are the taboo topics, these are the um Kama Sutra and um doing things like healing through massage and touch and feel, healing, feminine trauma, because Scorpio is a very it's feminine energy. And so these will typically be more relative to feminine energy. But nonetheless, um, that spiritual aspect of Scorpio, once you hit that higher level and you become the Phoenix rising, this becomes very, very spiritual. And so, yes, they can be into astrology, numerology, palmistry, but bringing the truth out to it, it becomes more esoteric at that point, even though that's a more Caesarean theme as well. But still, Pluto wants the truth, right? It doesn't want people to lie. So it fights and goes deep and digs for secrets and the truth within those secrets to make things make sense so that you can change and transform the way you understand things. This is the exact depiction of what the Phoenix rising is. Now you're somebody who's not on the lower vibration, but you see higher, which is Sagittarius is the next sign, is seeing the bigger picture. Even though, again, things can be so dark and bad and crazy, but that transformation and helping you see the truth, it gives you a different perspective on life. And you begin to appreciate the dark sides, the down times, the things that you've been through, and why you had to go through them and how it's made you a better person, why you can talk about these types of topics and help other people learn through other people's trauma and things of that nature. And that can be done in so many different ways. It's crazy. But again, this really depends on what house it's in. And what other planets are aspecting that, whether, how deep you go with this stuff. But healing for Scorpio moon is the key, because you can stay in that mode of just being interested in those things, but not actually transforming and changing and actually becoming the Phoenix rising. You got to move up to that Jupiter Sag energy, which is a higher perspective, the guru, the teachers, and I'll be talking more about that next. So stay tuned, family. As usual, I hope you found this information helpful. I love and appreciate you. Peace.